Good evening, good night, good morning. 3 ways to say goodbye. But our goodbye isn't here yet. History subject Daniel O'Connell. Daniel O'Connell is a Irish nationalist, I can say. He fought for Catholic emancipation and Irish freedom using without violence from stuff that happened from his childhood. So we'll be learning about early life of Daniel O'Connell, Ireland before Daniel O'Connell came, Catholic rights, Catholic emancipation, the monster meetings, and the decline of Repeal Association. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting with the early life of Daniel O'Connell. Daniel O'Connell was born in 1775 near Carrot, County Kerry. His parents were Morgan O'Connell and Catherine Mullen. At an early age, he was adopted by his wealthy uncle Maurice, who organised O'Connell's schoolings. In 1790, Maurice sent O'Connell to study in France. There, O'Connell witnessed the French Revolution. He was horrified by the violence being carried out in the name of politics. He believed that fighting and bloodshed being carried out were not the correct ways of achieving political aims. O'Connell left France 2 years later, but the experience has shaped his views on politics for the rest of his life. Now we're going to move on to Ireland before O'Connell. Let's do this. In the 18th century, many people in Ireland were not happy that the country was ruled by the British monarch, which is the King or Queen of Britain. Harsh penal laws have been passed that severely limited the rights of Catholics in Ireland. Irish people had their own parliament in Dublin, but most of the time it could only pass laws that the British monarchy already approved. Irish people were inspired by the revolutions in America and France. In 1791, a group called the United Irishmen was set up. They wanted Catholics, Protestants, and dissenters, which dissenters are people that do not agree with rules or beliefs of the established church. He wanted them to come together to solve Ireland's problem. In 1798, they tried to defeat the British by starting a rebellion, which is a fight against the government. The rebellion was a failure, however. Authorities were quick to act against it, and the rebellion that broke out locally couldn't unite into a countrywide rebellion. Even so, the British government was worried. In 1801, it responded by making Ireland part of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. The United Kingdom was already a union of England, Wales and Scotland before this. The change was known as the Act of Union. Now we're going to do Catholic emancipation. In 1823, O'Connell formed the Catholic Association, a movement united Catholic professionals, the Catholic Church and common people. O'Connell was a brilliant speaker who inspired the movement with his passionate speeches. That same year, O'Connell campaigned for election for the British Parliament. He won by a huge margin, but because he was Catholic, he couldn't take his seat at Westminster. Because he was Catholic, which means the British, they did not agree. No, the British were a Protestant country, and they basically owned Ireland at the time. So yeah, this made the Irish people very angry. Fearing a rebellion, the British government passed the Catholic Emancipation Act in 1829. Catholic emancipation allowed O'Connell into Westminster. The law also allowed Catholics to hold important jobs in the government. It was O'Connell's first major political victory. We're nearly coming to the end of O'Connell's long life. with that, we're nearly coming to the end of this video. In 1840, O'Connell set up the Repeal Association, which its goal was to repeal the Act of Union. He believed that Ireland was not being treated fairly by the British and that it would be better off as an independent nation. These monster meetings, however, came to an end in 1842 when the British government banned them from meeting up, which basically put O'Connell in prison for 3 years. And then O'Connell died, however, in 1847 when he was visiting the Pope in the Vatican. Now, O'Connell, he's kind of like the Industrial Revolution. He shaped Irish nationalism. And with that is our new black screen of history. Oh, we're only on 6 minutes. Do you know what? We'll go over something. We're only on 6 minutes, you know? You know, it's not long enough. Let's read. The situation came to a head at 1843 when O'Connell planned a meeting at Clontarf, an old battlefield site outside of Dublin. O'Connell scheduled these monster meetings at historical sites to remind people of what they were fighting for. Well, what they were talking for. This time the government banned the meeting, leaving O'Connell with a difficult choice. If he wanted to head with the meeting, there might be violence. But if he cancelled the meeting, he'd be giving in to the British government. See, he didn't want violence because of what he saw in the French Revolution. He didn't want that to happen in Ireland. They can no longer, but by now, O'Connell had become a big concern for the British government. They can no longer ignore his popular ideas. But now, as this video is coming to a halt and a stop as the first video, I just wanted to say hello everybody that is watching. And let's begin on the final line. O'Connell's legacy is an inspiration to the people of Ireland and beyond. William Gladstone, a British Prime Minister, called him the greatest popular leader the world has ever seen. While O'Connell didn't successfully repeal the Act of Union, which was his goal, he achieved Catholic emancipation, which was important for Ireland to step on the long road to Irish independence, which they ended up getting in 1923. But that one was a lot more bloodier than this. So that was the life and death of Daniel O'Connell. His legacy will always live on in Irish nationalism. With the video coming to a halt, we'll do the timeline of his life. So 1775, Daniel O'Connell was born. The American Revolution also begins. 1789, the French Revolution begins. 1798, the 1798 rebellion takes place. 1801, the Act of Union is passed. 1823, O'Connell forms the Catholic Association. Again in 1823, O'Connell is elected Westminster Parliament. He's elected to 1829, the Catholic Emancipation Act is passed. 1843, O'Connell cancels his monster meeting at Clontarf. 1840, O'Connell sets up the Repeal Association, and unfortunately, 1847, O'Connell dies. Now, with that, the video comes to a very unfortunate halt. So, as I said at the beginning of the video, and I'll say it now, good evening, good night, good morning, wherever you're watching this. And I just want to say, hi Alex.